Hello and welcome back to F1. I would like to revise on the things that we have done before I move on. What I mean by revise is the fact that I'm just going to go through the names of the topics that we have gone through. And so the first thing that we did, and thank you Richard by the way for lending us your notes. I can't thank you enough for that. Anywho, we have A1, the purpose and types of business organization. I hope you guys have revised that, and if you still have any questions on this matter, please do not hesitate to ask me. And then you have stakeholders. We had a lot of fun talking about stakeholders. One of the major things that we talked about in stakeholders were internal connected and external stakeholders, and then the Mendelow's matrix or framework nowadays they call it. Just amazing topics that we talked about. But today we're going to talk about a little bit lame topic considered as political and legal factors affecting the business. Now, I won't say it's really not important. Actually, it is important. It's not super important, but it's still there, and you'll get a lot of questions from it. And plus, it's boring. That's what I felt when I was teaching to a lot of different students before you guys. So here goes nothing. Perfect. Here we are. Now, so first thing we're going to do is talk about external analysis. I'm going to give you brief examples of all these things. Remember the concept called PEST, P-E-S-T, PEST. It's a mnemonic for political, economic, socioculture, technological. Very good topic, and let me tell you this, you will have to study this back in 3 more papers in ACC after this, and they're difficult. And if you are opting to do your BSc Honors, the Oxford Brookes University degree after F9, you still have to do the PEST analysis. It's increased to 2 more factors that's called PESTEL, but for now you're just going to talk about PEST, right? Moving on, talking about what a PEST analysis is. Now I want you to read these things by yourself, like political, legal, environmental things and all that, but I'm just going to give you a brief example of what this is. External analysis. Now, businesses do not just run by themselves. Let's say you have an iPhone. Let's say the person who created the iPhone just sat at his house and said, hey, I created the first most amazing touchscreen phone in the world, most sensitive touchscreen phone in the world. Well, do you think people will just come knock at his door and just sell the things? No, they won't. Why? Because you need marketing, you need people awareness of that. If I just record these lectures and put them on YouTube without any marketing, what will happen? Nobody will see the lectures. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm not really putting any further efforts into this matter, and it's just there. Nobody's watching it, but it doesn't bug me. It's just, it's just there for someone, maybe in the future, maybe in 2 years' time, someone is in really need of something to listen, and there they go, they get it. So same thing for businesses, but organizations are not like that. Organizations are made to make some money. So PEST analysis is the way of knowing that what a company is about to do, how to know what you're externally gonna affect you, what things will affect you externally. So first thing is political or legal environment. They're both together. Well, when you talk about PESTEL, P-E-S-T-E-L, that is not over here. L stands for legal. PESTEL, the last mnemonic there, it stands for legal. But here they're just going to combine it together because legal, political, similar things. Let's say that you are living in a country where there are more than one majority party. For instance, in America, there's a Republican Party and then there's a Democratic Party. Or in Pakistan, my hometown, there is the PMLN and PTI. Those people, in a business, now I can simply support one party openly. Nobody cares. But let's say, for the sake of argument, you are a $1 billion company and you come out and say that I'm supporting this party. Do you think the other party will like that? They won't. They would think that you're supporting them, so you're their supporters, so they might stop the fundings. Maybe there are some investors supporting the other party. Maybe they stop the fundings. Maybe they take it too personally. So that's a political factor. That's the political environment. Now you need to be careful when you make political judgments. You will see a lot of sports persons, lots of sportsmen. They will never talk about politics. They will never talk about religion because they know that they have a lot of fan following from different various cultures. There's a lot of diversity. If they talk about one person, the second person will get offended, right? Now, legal environment is the same, pretty much the same thing, but this is more towards what you do. Let's say you're making chocolates, but then you don't remove, when you don't, I don't know, or let's say you're making fried chicken. What do you do with all the skin of chicken or any other wastage that you have of the chicken, the leftovers of the chicken? Do you just dump them, or do you just recycle it, or do you put it on some other use? There are legal factors connected to that matter. So that's what the legal factor is. Then talking about economical or demographic. Now, economical factor is more to do with how your economy is. If the price of petrol, like, why do people say that when the price of petrol goes up, everything else goes up as well? Because that's true. Price of petrol, price of gold, these type of things mean that the overall currency is depreciating. So what do? I remember buying a piece of chocolate for, I don't know, $1. 3 years later, I'm buying the same thing for $1.70. Why? Because there's an extra 70 cents that is depreciated in your currency. That you get the same thing, you pay extra for that because economically the company cannot exist. Because the company is trading again and again, they're getting the money, they have a lot of money, they transfer the money over and over again. But when they send $1, they don't promise to get the dollar back. They might just get 90 cents back. So they need some extra profit. Then there's a social environment. Who are you giving it to? You go to America and start selling hijabs and all that, it's not going to work out. Because, or you go to a very kind of, I don't know, I don't even know a country where their people are always, they all have beards, and you start selling shaving creams over there. I mean, come on, they're not going to do that. They won't shave. That's the reason they have 5 feet long beards. They're all dumber dolls in their country. So that's a social environment. You need to take into effect the social effect of that. Or you go to a Muslim country, a Muslim majority country, and start selling alcohol. It's not going to work out. People aren't going to buy from you, or at least not publicly. And then there's a technological factor. Now, technological factor is mostly on the fact that all your competitors are having amazing technology, and you're just sitting over there with this old technology. For instance, you go to a supermarket, there is a self-check counter. You just go there, you just self-check your stuff, you pay by card or by cash or whatever there is services are, you go out. Simple. But in certain countries, that thing is not available. So what do? You have to go through the same old thing again and again. But let's say every person, every supermarket in your country has a self-check counter. Only you are the one shop that doesn't have a self-check counter. Do you think your customers will really appreciate it? They won't. They need the latest technology. Why do you think people in PlayStation stores or Xbox stores or other places where there is technology, why they have displays of everything? Why do they let people play it? Because when they play it, they'll know their things are working out. So that's a technological factor you need to take into account in your company, right? Read this through. It's the same thing I've said. So just go through this. And if you have any problem, let me know. And the legal one, they have already differentiated it a lot. So when you read it, if you have a question, let me know. Moving on to the next slide. What are the sources of the legal authority? Now, there are certain things called supranational. Now, supranational is not national, is not from your country. It's coming from other countries. It's coming from all over the world. United Nations is not founded by one country. Or it's not just there's only one person in the United States. No, there are more than 50 countries affiliated with United States. Meaning that, I'm sorry, United Nations. I'm really sorry I said United States. United Nations. Meaning that if United States, well, there you go. It's United Nations, by the way. I'm sorry about that. Well, let's say United Nations passes a law that you cannot do this in your country, or you need to accept more refugees in your country. Are you going to listen to them? Yes, but let's say there comes more refugees. What will happen? Is it good for your country? It is. Why? Because you get cheap labor. Refugees are poor people. They want to work for extra money. You give them $5 less than the market price, they'll be willing to work. Now that $5 extra is coming in the pocket of the company. Forget about ethics right now. You'll say this is not ethical and stuff like that. Stop bashing me. I'm just giving an example that having more refugees in a country is opportunity. On the other hand, let's say United Nations states that no refugees should be allowed in this country. Doom. You are gone. You will not survive because you are already used to the fact that there were refugees doing things for cheap. Now you want to hire the same amount of people for extra money. You need to take these and they will affect you. Why are we even talking about these things? Because these things are going to affect the companies. That's the reason I'm always giving an example of a company inside there. International Court of Justice and all these small places, they are going to have their rulings and it might affect you, it might not. But when it affects you, you need to know what you are going to do, right? Then you come to national. National are your home country where they pass the law in the parliament, in the Senate and stuff like that. It happens. It's a national thing. You're going to study more about this in F4. So it's going to be fine. And then there are senior courts, there are other courts, and there will be case laws, stuff like that. It's boring stuff. And the third thing is regional. Regional is just like federal government. Like in your United States, there are 13 states. United States of America has 13 states, and every state has their different legislation. There's a different court. There's a different minister there. He will take care of the small issues over there, and he will do all the stuff in that place. In Pakistan, there are 4 provinces, and every province has their own minister, and the minister will do everything about it, right? Just stuff like that. Moving on. Okay. Yep. Employment legislation. Now, retirement. Your company is very much affected with the employment legislation. Every country is affected. Every company is affected from the employer legislation. Why? Because sometimes you work with people. In fact, you work with people most of the time if you want to earn money. They will work for you, you know. First thing is retirement. Do you think it's okay to hire old people to work for you? No. Even if they're willing to work, you can't. The maximum age is, in some countries it's 55, some countries it's 60. But that's it. You retire after the age of 60. You don't work extra. You get your pension funds and then that's it. You're sitting at home enjoying a cup of tea, and every day, actually that's every day. That's all you do. That's retirement, simple. There's nothing to do with the retirement. But sometimes the employer will give you a golden handshake, meaning you're 50 years old, the employer says, hey, listen to me, I give you an extra $10,000, you retire now. There it is. Handshake, that's what you call a golden handshake because you give them money and that's your money in your hand and you just handshake with them and they take all the money. And you let them go. Maybe because they've worked for too long and you don't want to fire them. Or maybe because they were an important part of the company, they helped the company a lot, but now they're just, you know, not really developed anymore. There are better people who can replace them, you know. That kind of retirement plans can be there. Then comes resignation. Resignation is a very important part of the company and the law. When can you resign? At any time you want. Do you have to give a notice period of that? Yes, it depends on when you agreed with your contract, how long notice period do you need to give. Now, in every country, there's a different law. Some people say if you've worked for 1 year, you have to give 1 month law notice period. If for 2 years, it's 2 months and stuff like that. You know, it depends. It varies from person to person and all that kind of stuff. Then there's a dismissal. Now, dismissal is a time when the employer fires the employee. It's the most interesting of all because there are 2 types of dismissal. Actually, there are 2 types of dismissal and there are 3 forms of dismissal. The first is a wrongful dismissal. In your contract, it states that if the employer is not happy with your work, he'll give you 1 month notice period and a month later you can leave the job. But the employer says that you are out. You need to go. I don't want to see you again ever in this office. It's a wrongful dismissal. Now, in bigger countries like England or Germany or in America and stuff like that, you can sue the company, right? Then there is an unfair dismissal. Unfair dismissal is that you give them a 1-month notice period, you do everything correctly, but you don't give them a reason. You just call that person and say, hey, man, you're fired. And he asks you why. You don't give him a reason. You just don't say anything. You're like, blah, blah. That's it. And there are 3 forms of dismissal. Your employer will dismiss, simple. Employee will dismiss. He'll say, I'm not coming by. He runs off. What are you going to do? You're going to chase the person back in the office, make him sit for 1 extra month? No, you can't. And then there's a fixed contract without renewal. You'll say, you will work here for 1 year, and after that, if I don't renew your contract, you're off. You're off the hook. Every footballer has that. Just so you know, you'll get more interested in football if you're a guy. And I'm not sure if I'm supposed to talk about constructive dismissal over here. Do you guys know about constructive dismissal? Okay, it's a very interesting topic. It's when your employer knows he can't fire you and you don't want to leave the company, but the employer will do certain things to make you so uncomfortable that you need to leave. It's called a constructive dismissal. That he will plot things, he will just shout at you for no reason, he'll just look at you funny and he'll be like, what, you again? You come to work, he's looking at you like he wants to kill you. He will do things, he will talk things, he will not put you in parts of his plans in such a way that you'll feel left out and you'll feel emotionally depressed and you'll go out of the company. You'll just resign yourself and his work is accomplished. He's happy and you're not. That's called a constructive dismissal. So this might come up later, so you know, just be ready for that. I'm just not sure why he didn't put it here. He should have actually. But okay, he knows better. Okay, data protection and security. Like I said, it's a boring chapter. We're talking about certain different parts of things. They're just bits and pieces of everything in here. Now, why is privacy an important issue? Why do you think you need to keep everything private? Now, let's say I go to a Domino's website to order a pizza. When I put my phone number, my name, my address, my date of birth, let's say if they don't put it, if they don't do all that, if they don't take care of my privacy, what will happen? There might just be a serial killer coming at my house because he has my house address. He knows where I live. He knows how old I am. He knows I like pizza for sure. He knows everything about me. He can stalk me until he knows I'm alone and he kills me. And maybe then he cooks me and eats me later. You know? Anything is possible. Now, that's one of the reasons why privacy of your customers is very important. That's why they say we have taken care of your privacy. Your information will not be given to anybody. Your privacy is important to us. These kind of things. Why do they say that? They want to take your confidence. They want to put you in confidence. But I would like you to say do not believe in people in websites where you have to give your phone numbers, except for ACC and stuff like that, of course. But in normal websites, when they ask your phone number, try not to give your phone number because it's normally because they'll sell your contact information. And just for fun, if you have a website and stuff like that and you want to sell your information, you can get a lot of money for that. If you give a lot of bunch of numbers to anyone to do advertisement. Like I was unlucky the other day and I registered myself in a website, you know. And a few days later, I got a text message for a casino to do some bidding and stuff, to gamble. And I'm getting that since then. It's been more than 6 months. I can't stop it. There's no way to stop it. It just comes from a number called +001, stuff like that. I mean, I can't stop it. But it's annoying, you know. Once in a while it comes and it's annoying. Means someone gave my number to those casinos. They sold my information. I'm not interested in casinos, but let's say there is someone. He will do that. So even 1 in 100, why not? You get a customer. So that's one of the reasons why it's important. And plus there's a Data Protection Act in 1998. That's from actually England. But for your country, it might be different. But you need to remember when in England it was passed. It was passed in 1998. So I think I've already explained nicely what it is, and you just read that. You just have to read yourself about the Protection Act. If you have further questions, please ask me. I already explained why it's there for, you know. Okay, and he has put some risks to data at the workplace. What are the risks to the data? Whatever data there is, not even just human contacts and their name, the numbers and stuff like that. There could be your office details. Could be your work that you've done. If you're in accounts department in a company, there's a lot of data at risk. There's a human error. Could be anything. Human error could be two: intentionally, unintentionally. Intentionally would be like you purposely did some mistake. And then there's stupidity, that you just did a mistake you didn't even know existed. And the third one is unintentionally. Your boss made you do overtime, you're half asleep, you're typing on the keyboard, you're looking at the account, you're reconciling your bank reconciliations, and you fall asleep. It saves itself and you think it's done, but it's not done. You're dreaming about typing everything, but you're not typing it. And you wake up in the morning, you convince yourself you already did it, you've already done it, you let it go. Then there is technical error, is of course the computer error and stuff. And then there is a few other errors, actually dishonesty I've already mentioned up there as well. But anyway, you read this through. If you have further questions, please let me know. I suppose this is the last one if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure, let's see. No, there's one more. There's one more. Okay, this is easy. This is very easy. Now, there's a health and safety issue. Every country have health and safety. Like whenever you guys go to a construction site, do you see a sign over there says that we follow the construction and we follow the safeties very carefully and stuff like that? And then there's a guy wearing a helmet, and then there's a guy wearing shoes, the boots and all that kind of things. Because that's according to the country. Every country has its own law and protection. That what type of protection do your employees need? Let's say your employer says that you are an accountant. Let's say you're an accounts assistant, and your employer asks you to wear a helmet and your soft boots and come to the office. Are you going to do that? No, because that is stupid. That is really stupid. But you're working at a construction site. Do you need to do that? Yes, you do, because of your own safety and the safety of other people. So any accident, like there's a funny law in Singapore that if you are employer and your employee gets injured, you have to pay him for 5 years. I don't know if it's changed. I've heard of it before, and until now, this is according to my knowledge. If it's not correct, please correct me. But as per my knowledge, this is the law. The employer has to pay the employee a huge amount. So if you get injured, the employer has to pay you. Pretty cool, huh? But don't lose your thumbs. Like there was this person who told me that he lost his thumb, and the employer had to pay him, and he was pretty happy with it. But I'm just still wondering if he has to take chopsticks and stuff, like how will he do that? Like if he has to take a fork, how will he take a fork? You know, he can't eat cakes anymore. And the company's image will suffer. Have you heard of a company stating that there were 50 people killed in our office? We are proud of that and we want you to be the next ones? No! They'll say we've millions of people worked with us and they're happy. Nobody died. There is a scene about incidents like that, and when religion comes into play, they'll talk about being haunted and stuff. So if a person dies at the site, they'll say if you work here after 7 o'clock, the person will come and haunt you. You know, stuff like that happens. I'm sorry whoever you are, Ben, but I seriously saw this guy Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. But anyway, not important. Employer duties are these employer duties. I'm not going to bore you with the details. They have to make sure that it's safe and healthy, all the standards are met and stuff like that. Just read it. It's important in a way that in the exam it might pop up one question and pop up, you know, anything can happen. But just for your own knowledge, it's important. All right. In F4, it's going to help you again. There's an employment law. There's business contract law and stuff like that. You will study all this again. So why don't you remember it now so that you have less work later, right? Right? Cool. I hope this is the last one. I really hope so. Moving on. No, there's another one after this. So, yep. Compliance with laws. There's data protection, security, and health safety. Don't think I need to tell you guys about this, because I've already told you. It's actually a follow-up from the last page. Previously we talked about the employer's responsibilities. Then there's employees' responsibilities. Let's say the employer is doing everything to make you happy, but you really want to get your thumb cut off because you get some extra money. Do you want that? I mean, think about it. Let's say I say that your employer will give you $5 million if your thumb cuts off. Will you do that? Yeah, I think you will. I will. If I get a chance. 5 million is a big amount, you know. I'm talking about US dollars. So, and there are certain people who will purposely get injured. That's why there are some responsibilities for the employee as well. So if the employer is meeting all the requirements and the employee is not, you don't get the money. So that's a bummer. So don't take the risk, okay? Read it through. If you think some laws are stupid or they don't make sense, just ask me. Supposed to be this is the last one. It looks like I'm purposely saying that to get rid of this, but no, actually I'm just making sure you know where we are in the pages. Okay, principles of consumer protection. We are consumers. We eat chocolates, we eat cheesecake, we eat literally whatever we eat. We are consumers. We consume things, and there are principles on the Consumer Act. Of course, everything has an act. The lawyers didn't just come from up there. They just studied about all this, and when they wanted to make their job more difficult, they wanted other people to not understand what they were doing, they created more and more laws. Now, then there's a consumer protection law saying that everything should be truthfully told. In certain religions, beef is not allowed to be eaten. In other religions, pork is not allowed to be eaten. So if you don't write it down, in other religions, the gelatin is not allowed. You can't eat gelatin. According to them, it's not allowed. So you are supposed to write it down. That's the consumer's right. If you're consuming something, you need to know what you're consuming. We know in my home country, this thing is trash. They don't care. Even if they have to boil cockroaches for us to eat, they will do that. But I'm talking about a more reasonable country where there are more reasonable people who are doing these things. So Consumer Act is just an act stating that you need to tell your consumers what they're having. Simple. Nothing very rocket science there, is it? Then there's unfair contract terms. Just read through this. It's not important. Like I said, this is the least important topic in your course, but still it's important. So just go through this. The Sales of Goods Act 1979. Like I don't know what to explain to you over here. It's more or less the same thing. Mostly talking about UK, England, and whatever is a country-specific topic. The examiner will most likely not ask you questions from there. So I'm just gonna leave you guys a bit lenient over here and stop talking now. And I'll see you guys tomorrow with macroeconomic factors. Amazing topic, one of my favorites. I studied that in F1. I studied that in a few other papers, including P1, P3, and I'm studying that right now in my CFA levels exams as well. So it's amazing. It's everywhere. So you need to know this. This is one of the most important topics you're going to know. Having said that, I'm just going to sign out, and thank you very much for listening.